It's Monday, the 13th of September 2021. Welcome to the Fear and Greed Business Headlines, the business news you need in just 5 minutes. I'm Sean Aylmer. And if 5 minutes isn't enough, then find more news and interviews in our longer daily podcast called Fear and Greed. In today's headlines, the September curse hits global share markets, but commodity prices soar. Plus, superannuation funds make a revised $32 billion bid for Sydney Airport. COVID cases jump over the weekend, but all the talk is about ending lockdowns and opening up the economy. And CEO pay surges. Our lead story today, the September curse has hit global share markets, with bourses around the world falling over the past fortnight. Last week, Wall Street dropped 1.7%, the biggest decline since mid-June. The Stoxx Europe 600 was off 1.1%, and the local market was down 1.5% on the back of weaker global markets, lower iron ore prices, and lockdown concerns. Investors are worried about both the spread of coronavirus and exactly when central banks around the world will start tightening monetary policy. Over the past 35 years, September has averaged the weakest month for both Wall Street and the local market, according to AMP Capital's Shane Oliver. Having said that, base metal prices like copper, aluminium, lead, tin, nickel and zinc are soaring. Tight supply, strong demand and all sorts of supply chain problems have pushed prices to multi-year highs. Aluminium hit a 13-year record late last week and nickel hit its highest level since 2014. Coal prices are also soaring, with coking coal pushing through $300 a tonne on Friday. That's the first time in 5 years. And uranium prices, an unwanted commodity since the Fukushima disaster a decade ago, have hit a 7-year high. It's likely that at some point in coming years, nuclear power will again be used heavily if the globe wants to achieve net zero carbon emissions. Market dynamics aren't always rational, and September is normally a tough month for markets. It seems the case this year as well, unless, of course, you're riding the commodity price boom. In overseas news, thousands of people headed to New York's Ground Zero to remember those lost and affected in the September 11 terrorist attacks on the World Trade Center 20 years ago. 2,983 lives were lost on the day, and many since. People from more than 90 nations died that day. President Joe Biden and his wife Jill, and former President Barack Obama and his wife Michelle attended a service at the site in Lower Manhattan. Fortunately, the memorial passed peacefully. Apple has been ordered to make a change to the way it generates money from its App Store. A federal judge in the US said the technology giant must let developers of mobile apps steer consumers to outside payment methods, loosening the company's grip on the $100 billion market for mobile games. Currently, Apple takes up to 30% commission on transactions, and the ruling could hurt earnings. And two of the world's most prestigious car makers, Daimler and BMW, say they'll limit volume of premium models once the industry-wide chip shortage eases, hoping to lock in the sharp price increases they've achieved during the pandemic. The German car makers were already shifting away from a volume-based approach pre-COVID, and that's accelerated as customers have been willing to pay more for vehicles. Locally, IFM Investors has made a revised bid for Sydney Airport worth $32 billion and will start due diligence this week, according to a report in the Financial Review. The Sydney Airport Board, which has already rebuffed two earlier bids, has approved the offer, the report says, ending a 2-month deadlock. If it goes ahead, and it now looks likely, a binding deal could be signed next month. The new bid values Sydney Airport at $8.75 a share, up 6% on its initial bid. It would be the largest cash deal ever on the ASX. Square's $39 billion takeover of Afterpay, announced last month, is a cash and scrip bid. Prime Minister Scott Morrison said 1 million doses of the Moderna vaccine will arrive from Europe this week, and he urged all Australians to get vaccinated. It came as Federal Tourism Minister Dan Tehan said the government will start a trial this week of using QR codes linked to passports to determine people's vaccination status. It's in preparation for the reopening of overseas travel in coming months. Meanwhile, case numbers in Victoria are surging, with 642 new cases over the weekend and more than 2,800 cases in New South Wales. But South Australia Premier Stephen Marshall said he'll open up his state border to New South Wales, Victoria and the ACT once the vaccination rate hits 80%. CEO pay has jumped nearly 20% at ASX-listed companies this year on the back of record profits. The bosses of Gold Digger Newcrest Mining, property group Mirvac and Woolworths are among the biggest winners, according to a report in the Financial Review. But Macquarie Group's Shamara Wickramanayaka remains the highest paid, with reported pay of just under $16 million. CSL's Paul Perot was second at $13.6 million, and Greg Goodman from property company Goodman Group was third at $13.4 million. That's the Fear and Greed business headlines for today. Make sure you hit follow so you get it every morning, and search for our longer daily podcast called Fear and Greed. There, you'll also find our daily interview. Today, we're talking to rich lister Nick Bell, who explains how he made his money and what he looks for when investing. Don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, or go to fearandgreed.com.au. I'll be back later with the afternoon market report. I'm Sean Aylmer. Have a great day.